Welcome back, guys, to the Launch Party podcast, where we are lifting off into stratospheric success and we want to take you guys along for the ride. We've got a banger today. To be honest, we've waited too long since our last episode, but a lot has changed for the both of us, and it's going to give us a lot to talk about, not only to catch up amongst ourselves, but to share some lessons that we've learned along the way, because we've done a lot of growing upping over this past little bit.
Yep.
So I've got a whole other environment I'm in. Danny has started his venture. Then he's gonna go into that. But strap in for this one. Let us know what you think in the comments in terms of ways that you can relate this to changes that you guys have made in your lives as young men / women. It's probably not a lot of girls that watch this, but if you're a young man and you're taking new steps and opening up new chapters in life, it's always a great time to reflect and kind of think about what you're learning along the way and how that's kind of shaping up the book that will be your life as a whole. So Danny, let's get into this. How's it going?
Yeah, you nailed that. You nailed that intro. It's been a while, but still got it. Welcome to the launch party, guys. It's been interesting. We're in the matrix, as Esteban would say, climbing up the rat race, climbing up the ladder as quickly as possible, but it's been good. Welcome to the real world, as Andrew Tate would say, I guess. Yeah, you're in a whole new time zone, new continent, new climate, new season,
Mm-hmm. New hemisphere,
new language. So we'll get into all that. Yeah, it's been good. Hopefully you don't hear these sirens in the background for too long. I am in Atlanta. Been living here since the summer, but it's been fun. I do want to get, right now, we kind of started a little more humble as we didn't have like any money coming in and just got a nice, relatively new apartment, but a little further out from the city. And I'm thinking moving in towards the city, like either Midtown or Buckhead, and living in a skyrise with that ambiance looking out the window. It's like kind of like what you got here, waking up in the morning, sipping some coffee on the porch that's 25 stories up. So maybe we'll get there. I think that'll be kind of cool for a year. And then I do also have plans to move. Well, we'll see what happens. We won't get into too far in the future. Talk about the here and now. But yeah, welcome back, Esteban. How have you been?
I've been doing great. I've been doing great. As you guys can see, this is the
Where are you at?
Spectacular, incredible. When people ask me how has this city been, in Spanish, I always start with the same word, increíble, incredible city of Buenos Aires, Argentina. So I'm for those of you guys who are familiar with it, I'm in the Palermo neighborhood, which is kind of like the go-to kind of first stop for a lot of people who come and visit. But it's also where there is sort of like the most going on, the biggest expat community, and it's been amazing. And I'm going to dive in extremely hard in a little bit here in terms of what I've enjoyed so far, kind of the lessons that I've taken from it, and a whole ton of reflection that I've done in the meantime. But yeah, down here in Argentina, it is we're an hour out ahead of Eastern, so time zone's not a huge difference. But we're in the spring, going into summertime right now. So pretty southern hemisphere moment right there. And frankly, the weather right now has been amazing. A little bit of rain here and there, but nice, cool breeze. People say that it gets hot in the summer, but from what they tell me in terms of the actual temperature, it's kind of like, all right, like try Georgia,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my quick intro on it down in Argentina. And this is my first big foray in terms of living in another country for a long time. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah. And we'll get into that. I guess the way this episode is going to be structured is more one half-ish, kind of me talking about the past couple months, having a real job, graduating college, what that's kind of looked like. Hopefully you guys get some good advice and snippets from there. And then we'll transition into Esteban's experience these past couple months, going from solar in the Midwest to just about as south as you can go and still be in an actual city with people in terms of like the world geography and how that transition has been and what he's learned. And yeah, so get ready, strap yourselves in. Let's get to it. As some of y'all who have been listening and been keeping in touch with me probably know, I've been studying for
Real
the
fans.
CPA, and I've taken 3 tests. I've passed the first 2, and I get my grade back for the third on Halloween, the 31st. So in a couple days here. So hopefully I pass that. I plan on taking the fourth in like November 18th, I think. 18th to 20th, 21st maybe. That was the easiest. I saved the easiest for last, so that should be a breeze. I've been working on that while I've been working, which has kind of been a struggle, but you got to do what you got to do. And then once I'm done with that, then it's smooth sailing in terms of the educational certification front and more focusing on diving into the work and learning what to do when busy season comes along. So for y'all that don't know, in public accounting, you have 2 main areas. You have tax and then audit. I'm in the tax side, so our busy season starts mid-January to early February, and then kind of comes to an halt after April 15th. But then we have a whole bunch of other stuff that comes up into the summer, going to the 9/15 and 10/15 deadline, so September, October. After October 15th, which just passed a couple weeks ago, it's pretty slow until we have a couple of things going on, but then until the busy season starts again in January, February, then it really starts picking up. Um, I would say one thing I just want everyone to know that I've learned very quickly, funnily enough, learn is even though you're in college, you hate going to class, you don't like listening to the lectures, they're boring, you don't want to take notes, you don't like studying because this is all stupid and learning is dumb and I just want to get drunk and have fun. Well, once you get an actual job, guess what you got to do? Especially if it's in like the corporate world, because guess what? Newsflash, you don't know shit. So what do you got to do? Well, you got to learn. And what does that look like? Looks like seminars, looks like conferences. A lot of it is online resources that are internal to your firm. So webcasts, Zoom calls, and then you got like tests, you got like Excel courses that I've been going through, all that good stuff. So I come out of college thinking I'm done learning, and you actually start to learn, and it's kind of your life to learn because whatever you start going into, you're not going to really know anything until you actually start doing it. The best way to learn is by actually doing it, but hopefully if you're especially with a bigger company like Big Four, as where I'm starting out in, is we have a lot of internal infrastructure to help you get on the right step, get on the right track in terms of whatever path you're going into. So you don't just get thrown in the deep end instantly. And so I started mid September. And so that was right in between like the 9/15 deadline. And then we had like 2 weeks of like onboarding and training and blah, blah, blah. And so I used that to study for the CPA, start learning, and then it started slowing down after 10/15. And so this next 2 months for me is knocking down the CPA, which I've been talking about, and then just learning and getting ready for my first like actual busy season in the corporate world. And if you guys are wondering, what does that look like? Well, on average, you need to have at least 55 billable hours each week. So 55 to 60 is what they're shooting for. If you're a real player, you're 60 plus, 65, 70, let's say, if they really got you like on projects and you know what you're doing. What does billable hours mean? That means hours that you are doing work that's actually being billed out to the client. So that means you're not just sitting around doing mindless emails or anything. You're actually doing work that's helping with the deliverable, with the project that is due to the client by a certain date. So they want you doing over 40 hours a week, just that. And then everything else would just be like general and administrative stuff. And you don't want to add up a whole bunch of G&A, like general hours, because that would hurt your utilization. And that's kind of one of the main
You guys
factors
have
they
a
look at.
ratio from like
Yeah,
useful hours to useless hours.
exactly. Because how do big public accounting firms make money in this kind of work is they bill the client hours based on the work that's being done. And
Right.
then at the end of the day, then they pay them based off how many hours were worked. And then there's like tiers, obviously. A partner is the top. And then there's different tiers of partners too. And they all have different like hourly rates. all the way down to like your intern or whatever that has a way lower rate. And then we also have people probably above interns, but like overseas, we call them ACs, acceleration centers, that have a separate rate as well. And they do a ton of work and they help out a lot for us.
Now, have you been doing a lot of billable hours already, or due to the whole learning curve, not quite so
Right.
much yet?
Yeah, that's a good question. Not so much yet for two reasons. Number one, I started right as the busy part was ending, but I did get a couple weeks of solid hours, but it was more I would call it engagement administration. I was just kind of keeping everything organized, making sure everything was getting done, helping out where I could, and I was getting some billable hours that way. Um, and so I guess to put in perspective, busiest day I've had, I billed like 10 hours and I was working for like 12 hours that day. So that was the busiest. The other, I've had a good bit of like 10-hour days, but until mid January, early February, it's going to be pretty much 40-ish hour weeks for me, besides CPA studying, which I also do. So that's kind of what
And
public
then
accounting looks like.
once the season comes about, then you would bump more into the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, yeah. At least 55 minimum, really 60 minimum.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been good. It's been good. We got a good team. We got a good thing going. We're growing a lot. We got an intern and a new hire coming in January. We got 3 interns and 3 new hires coming next summer. We got a ton of work. I guess let me go into what it is exactly I do. I work in asset and wealth management on the tax side. So we do a whole bunch of partnership returns, corporate returns for private equity, alternative investment, a lot of private credit groups, and then we also have AWM real estate, which I do a little bit of stuff in, but not as much. They're kind of sort of a separate group. It's kind of the same. So we basically help these private, let's just say private equity groups, asset managers, structure their corporation, their partnerships in order for their investors and themselves as general partners to have in theory, the least amount of tax liability and make sure everything goes through smoothly with the IRS. And then we can get into a whole bunch of nuances with all the different limited partners or investors, which range from pension funds to high net worth individuals. And they get their like technically personal income through K1s, which are filtered through partnerships. And so we work a lot with K1s, the total K1s, 1065s, 1120, 1120S. So we work on all those things for these huge asset managers, private equity groups. And a lot of that looks like getting data from them, from the client, organizing it so we can use it correctly and input it into our internal systems, which then eventually goes through another software that sends it to the IRS. And there's a whole lot of steps in between there and a whole lot of review and a whole lot of different levels and sign-offs. And we got to make sure everything from the partner thinks it's okay to the client thinks it's okay, and then review it again. So it's a lot of steps, a lot of levels, and but a lot of learning. And yeah, we've been growing a lot, as you guys know, since like past 10-ish years, the past decade or so. Private equity and asset and wealth management has just been exploding, especially in the Southeast. So we have, in a lot of ways, a lot more work than we can handle, and that's why I said we have people coming in the future and this busy season next summer, and we're continuing to grow, which is really good for me, as in theory I'll be able to leverage that and then work my way up and get people under me as I get more experience, more knowledge. But yeah, just a lot of learning, a lot of nuances, a lot of once I'm done with the CPA, I'm really going to lean into learning the internal softwares that we have and how to use those effectively and efficiently, and then lean into knowing the industry, knowing the tax rules, having the skills to be active in a conversation when it comes to dealing with these structural issues and business issues. And then so hopefully I can make my way up to talking like more with the clients, and then be the face of the business more, and then just continue to build up our team. But yeah, all that's been good. Like I said, it's just learning. You, what I wanted to get at earlier was the whole purpose of college and high school and school and education. Like I said hundred times before, it's to learn how to learn, so that when it really does matter, you actually retain this kind of knowledge, so then you can use it for your own benefit and be economically valuable in whatever it is that you do. Whether it's learning how to sell stuff and learning the product and learning different kinds of people, to learning how to have the skills to do a tax return, know all the different nuances, understand data, manipulate data, all that stuff. You don't just wake up one day and you know how to do it. It takes a lot of time and effort. But yeah, yeah. Do you have any questions? I know I kind of went on for a minute there.
I would say, kind of on that topic, and I'm sure a lot of people will kind of think about this when they think of formal education, whether it is in high school, kind of rambling at the teacher for teaching you stuff that you'll think you'll never use, or when you're in the back of the lecture hall and you're like, will I ever use this? You double majored in accounting and finance up until your current position and what you've experienced so far at PwC. How much of what you were taught in university would you say is directly applicable to
Yeah,
what you guys are doing?
that's a good question. I would say the reason why I wanted to major in accounting and finance wasn't because I wanted to be in a public accounting initially. It was because I thought those were the most two useful majors to have if you wanted to work in business, which is absolutely true. Business management, marketing, economics, even economics is useful too, depending on what you want to do. But
Mm-hmm.
accounting and finance, specifically for me, having transition into public accounting, even though that's not initially what I wanted to do, and then getting my CPA and studying for that, I would say everything. I would say 80% of what I learned in college in my accounting courses has been applicable to studying for the CPA. And it's kind of crazy how much your brain has stores these kinds of memories subconsciously, even though you don't really know it. But then you see
Mm.
something and you're like, holy shit, I've seen that before.
Kind
Like
of
you couldn't think of it
triggers.
off the top of your head, but you connect these dots so quickly once you see something again and again. And so I think the whole major in accounting has helped a whole bunch. The whole majoring in finance actually helped me with the CPA a lot, because finance went more into time value of money, which means like loans and time value money, interest rates, stuff like that, which was also part of the CPA exam. That's very helpful for everything in terms of your personal finances, in terms of business, in terms of the companies we work with, which leverage a lot of debt. So yeah, and also we work with credit branches which loan out liquidation, like liquid money to companies, and so they deal a lot with that and interest rates. So it's been really helpful, and I liked a good bit of my finance classes, even though they seem boring and mundane. It all adds up. What one person, I think some kind of managing partner at PwC, was talking about. No, he's actually one of the partners that my partner that I work directly under works for. He was like, your first year, especially, you're not going to know anything. And every single day, you're going to encounter new things. And it might seem hard at first, or it might even seem mundane. You're like, oh, this is simple. Like, obviously, I know how to do this. I know how to go into here, click a couple buttons, and then do this. But then you do the same thing the next day, and you figure out how to do another little, even mundane thing, or try to understand a more complicated thing, and then you do it again, and then you do it again. And then 100 days go by, and then like 300 days go by, a year or 2 years, and now all those little things start adding up. You start building the thing brick by brick. And then in your head, a lot of things start to connect. Your brain starts to connect the dots. And the same thing kind of happened with what I learned in accounting and finance and the CPA, and even coming into what I'm doing now as well. And then definitely, if you're going to be like a CFO, any kind of money manager, any kind of investment manager, financial analyst, CFA, accounting and finance would definitely be the way to go, because you just start, like I said, day by day, just learn something new to try to add another brick to your foundation of knowledge that you have inside your head. Mm-hmm.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear that the content that you were taught in university has been very applicable. And look at that, guys. If you study the right major and you apply yourself, which Danny did, it's why he works the job that he works, then just maybe you will get something out of it.
Yeah. I guess and then we'll get to the more interesting things about life now. It's well, I have a paycheck and I have some money coming in, which is nice, so I can I can go out to dinner and go to Chick-fil-A and not really think about it and pay my rent and get some nicer shoes, nicer clothes, get some jeans,
You can get a
all that
space
good
too.
stuff. Go out to go on some nice dates, go to cool places, travel, which we're planning on doing pretty soon here. Planning on going to West Palm Beach again soon, and then also my like kind of boss and then a couple other teammates. We've been hitting the gym at the office that we have. There's a gym like on the 14th floor. We're on the 28th floor, and it's like if you work in the office it's $55 a month, which kind of seems like a lot, which I mean it kind of is a little bit of a premium, but because of the convenience it's literally right there. We hit the sauna, then work out 45 minutes to 50 minutes, maybe an hour, and then hit the steam room for 5 minutes, shower. They got a whole bunch of nice white tea soaps and
Mm.
shampoos
They give you
and
towels.
lavender shit. What?
They give you towels.
Yeah, towels and like fresh
Okay.
robes and everything.
Yeah, that's worth 55 for sure.
Yeah. Even robes. I haven't used the robes yet, but yeah. And then and even razors and like shaving cream and everything there. So it's nice. Smells like lavender and vanilla. And then also with the 55 is they do classes like in the morning and the afternoon, which is like yoga, hit, which is high intensity training, I think, Pilates, shit like that. So you could also, I mean, I'm not really involved in any of that, but
When do you usually
yeah.
work out?
And then we go in the morning. So I wake up about 7ish, leave 7:30, get there around 7:58, and then work out for an hour. Then I'm up to the office by like 9:15. So it's
Nice,
really not even that bad.
nice.
And then once you do that for about a week, you get into the schedule pretty quick. I've been doing honey and salt in the morning and drinking a ton of water.
Let's go.
Yeah. It's
Let's go.
energy and electrolytes to hydrate. And I've been doing creatine for the past couple of days. I will say, and I've talked about this before with creatine and caffeine and stuff, like that shit kind of fucked up my stomach. And I was getting the runs bad. And what I would recommend is whenever you take it, what I do is I fill up like a 24-ounce water bottle and I just chug that thing on the way there. So I take it in the morning and then chug it on the drive there. And then once I get all that in my system, seems to dilute it enough so it doesn't mess me up. But yeah, and I've been laying off caffeine as well.
Okay. Nice. How do
And
you
then
feel? Like back, consistent. How do you feel? Staying
yeah, I've
there.
been kind of sore the past week or so because been hitting it good, hitting it hard. But feeling good once you get into that routine, into that schedule of waking up at the same time for about a week or 2 weeks, then it gets so much easier. And before, I would whenever I would try to do something like that, wake up early, go to work, I would be exhausted, like exhausted. I need my sleep. If I don't get sleep, like I can't see straight, I can't think straight. I'm just like so tired. I can't really do anything. But I've been going to bed early, getting at least 8 hours. So I go to bed at 11, 10:30, 11, wake up at 7. And then once you get into that routine, your whole circadian rhythm, whatever it is, your body, it just changes. And I feel a lot more fresh, a lot more awake throughout the entire day. And I've been eating better, a lot of proteins, a lot less carbs, a lot less bullshit. So yeah,
Nice.
it's been good. Been trying to keep up with it.
Yeah, that's good to hear. That's the real grown up circadian rhythm right there.
Yeah. Getting old, man. Getting old. Don't like loud noises. Don't like loud
Same.
people.
Welcome back to the Launch Party Retirement Podcast.
Yeah.
We talk about how to make the most of our midlife crises.
All right. So, yeah, Esteban, how have you been? Where are you at? Tell us about what's been going on your side of the globe.
All right, let's do it. So, I guess where I should first kind of start with this whole topic is kind of give a quick recap, as I'm sure you guys have heard if you've listened to me talk on other episodes as to what I wanted and why I wanted to go to Latin America so bad. But basically, yeah, I'm in search of, and I've probably found a new home base where I can just have more of the lifestyle that I want. And I'll go into a little bit as to how this place has given me that lifestyle. And was just tired a lot of the Americanness, right? The prices have gone up. People are lonely. People don't do anything. It's pretty boring. Crime rates have gone up. There's more litter on the ground. There's just the energy in the air, I feel like sometimes is a little bit sour. And don't you dare try to talk to the person in the elevator. They're going to think you're weird, right? So it's like, I'm tired of that. So I have done a little bit of traveling around Latin America. Of course, spent a lot of time in Puerto Rico, been to Colombia, and then next on the list was Argentina. And I have been looking into just a lot of content online, people who have gone there, connected with a couple people who are actually here. Sorry if I'm playing around with my microphone here. It's having some issues. And it just seemed like Argentina had offered, it was going to be able to offer exactly what I wanted, right? Very, very relaxed, yet active and healthy lifestyle. It's a little bit more European-esque than the rest of Latin America. I could blindfold you and then take you to Buenos Aires and tell you you're in Paris, or tell you you're in London, or tell you you're in Madrid, Spain. And it would take you a while to figure out that you're not actually in Madrid, Spain, for example, right? So whereas Colombia, right, Panama, Dominican, Mexico, you're in Latin America kind of everywhere you are. This has kind of like that blended feel, which I do like a lot of. So I was like, okay, this place seems cool. Seems like the vibes are good. And it seems like it could be a very good place to meet people and grow my network in a very positive way. So bought my ticket, have not bought a return ticket, and I plan not to for a little bit. And here I am. So first of all, for those of you who have thought about wanting to travel internationally, or even traveling within the country or within the country that you're in, and you just want to kind of get out of your shell and get out of the environment that you were raised in or have spent a lot of time in, do it. Get out. You won't regret it. Even if it's for a while, even if it turns out you don't like it and you come back with your tail between your legs, that version of you that made the leap will be a lot better off and will be a lot more mature and will be a lot more fit to tackle the challenges that life brings than the version who just sits in the same place, same hometown. It's kind of like if you have a choice of going to a college where you have to live in that city as opposed to commuting from home, do not commute from home. Go to the other city, live there, right? Get an apartment, live in the dorm rooms, do whatever you got to do, get out there. It's going to help you, right? It's going to progress you at a much quicker rate than you would be progressing otherwise. Now, in my case, I had spent a lot of time personally traveling within the United States, not only for leisure, but for college and for work, right? Lived now in, I guess, 5 different states, worked in all 5 of them, and a couple different cities within Georgia for college. And I already kind of had that bone kind of in my body, right? I was already very used to moving around. I don't think I've spent more than 90 days in sleeping in the same bed for 90 days in a row in over 2 years now. Seriously.
That's crazy.
Actually, there's maybe one time where I spent a little bit in Atlanta, but I haven't had a place for a long time, basically since I left college, which is about 2 years, if not more. Dang, time flies.
Yep.
So for me, this is kind of normal, but I'm very happy of the decisions that I made in order to create that reality, in order to create that comfort with, the spontaneity, right? And moving around and being flexible and lightening up the suitcase a little bit. Promise you, half that bullshit you have in your drawer, you can go ahead and throw it away. You're not going to need it. Lighten up your load and get out there, right? So I'm here in Argentina, and I've got a couple main points that I want to touch on in terms of the way that I've received it so far and the impact that it's had on me personally. So, first of all, the overall vibes are high, right? There's just a good energy here. Now, many people will say, oh, well, that's just because you're new. That's just because you're traveling and it's going to go away. Truth is, I've been meeting a lot of people here, and I'll get into that in a second. It doesn't go away. I mean, some people, sure, that if they've lived here their entire life, maybe they're kind of like they don't know the difference. But everyone I met who has moved from another country has just said that just the energy here, it sticks, and it's awesome. You know, it's basically, if I had to describe it, it's just you're walking down the street. There's the little coffee shop. There's the little families walking with the stroller. The leaves are moving in the wind. People are smiling. People are pleasant. It's a very, very safe area, despite what many people might think about Latin America. Argentina specifically is one of the safer countries in Latin America. Yes, it has its rough parts. And then Palermo, Recoleta, Belgrano, for those of you who are familiar with the city, the nice areas of Buenos Aires are very, very safe, right? So it's just, I'm feeling good. I feel like I can let my guard down. And that just, it has just an overall, it makes my energy just better, I feel like the positive energy comes in, and then I'm able to spit it right back out into the world and into the people that I interact with, right? So I know that's kind of super arbitrary and woo-woo, but I felt it here
That's
more than
valid.
I've ever felt it anywhere I lived before. I've lived on the coast of Florida. I've lived in Athens, Georgia, one of the best college towns in America. I've spent lots of time in the rest of Latin America, and here just has another energy. And that sort of feng shui is something that I think we have to be very cognizant of when we ask ourselves where we want to live, because that has value, right? The overall vibe, the overall aura that you have just kind of day to day does have a very strong impact on, ultimately how much you're going to like your life. So I think it's a pretty good life likability out here. And I'll go into some more actual concrete reasons why in a second here. But one thing I do whenever I leave the house to start the day is I'll just throw in my earbuds and walk around for at least about 30 minutes to an hour mindlessly. The music sounds great. I'm feeling great. I'm skipping along to the beat, and that walk does so much for me. So I'll get into that. Walkability here is very, very good. This is a very walkable city, very public transit friendly. Ubers are very quick, very easy, very safe, very reliable, and very cheap. So you don't need a car down here. You can have one. Some people do, but especially in the area where I'm in, you can just use your feet. And, that's good for a few reasons, right? Obviously, the convenience of it. You don't need to fill gas. You don't need to pay for car insurance. You don't need to risk being in a car accident all the time. But also just when it comes to socializing, the odds of you bumping into a stranger, the odds of you just meeting the love of your life, the odds of you having some friendly interaction with a little dog that somebody's walking, man, the dogs here are awesome, right? And it's just, it adds a whole other element to the period in between my point A and my point B. So if I'm walking to the gym, for example, I can experience things along the way. I can stop by in a little shop. I can do something. I can smell the air. I can talk to someone. Whereas otherwise, if I were driving, I would just kind of be sitting in my metal and glass box playing music, which is fine. Some people really like those boxes, but yeah, it gets your blood flowing. It makes you feel good, and overall, physiologically, I can feel a really, really big difference here in terms of just the way my brain is firing. So, of course, when you're walking a lot, your blood is moving, your heart's pumping more, you're getting a lot more sunlight, you're getting a lot more vitamin D, and also the diet here is awesome. At least my diet and a lot of the standard foods of Argentina, awesome, right? So world renowned for their steaks. Steak, 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 steak. So I get to eat steak every single day, which, to be fair, I already was doing that pretty much in America for a decent while. But I get to do it at a quarter of the price, at double the quality, and there's so many options in terms of different types of cuts. So usually my day will start with me waking up, throwing on some steak and eggs on the skillet, crushing that, drinking as much
Well,
Walking
gas.
gas as I can fit in my stomach at the moment, and then I'll get out there and get started. And yeah, that part's been really, really good because obviously the way you fuel your body is kind of going to be conducive to the way your body's going to be able to operate. And I'm feeling lighter. I'm feeling more nimble. I've leaned out a tiny bit, and I can tell. I don't know if it's the testosterone levels or it's my endorphin levels or if my dopamine baseline is higher. Whatever the actual neurochemistry of it, it makes me feel happier when I'm eating clean and I'm moving around. So I'll keep going, but I'll kind of stop there for now Danny, if there's any initial thoughts. I know I just
Yeah.
threw out a lot.
Yeah, I guess I got a couple questions. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying to eat ground beef and eggs too in the morning. I know doesn't Argentina have a lot of cattle, and they're
Yes.
kind of known for their meats, so
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty neat. You get that pretty much wholesale price, I guess, but even more so than that, some fresh steak. I guess what. So since you're traveling so light, and it's a little
Mm-hmm.
different than when you could drive up to the Midwest. What are you wearing? What does your wardrobe look like? Like,
Mm.
where are your clothes at and stuff?
Yeah,
How
that's a
many
good question.
suitcases did you bring?
So I brought one like standard sized check-in bag suitcase.
Mm.
It weighed in at 44 pounds when I weighed at the airport. So 6 pounds under the 50-pound limit to where you have to pay a fee. And then one big backpack. Not that big, but like a school backpack with like the multiple layers. Like the type of backpack that like the nerdy kids would wear, like full of textbooks and like run around with, and full of stuff. So I honestly did pack pretty dang light in terms of clothes, and I left a lot of things that I had been wearing before. And I kind of took it as an opportunity to sort of almost like molt into a new skin in a way, because a lot of the clothes that I left was clothes that I've had forever. You know, like those gym shorts you've had that have lasted you forever, boxers, bunch of underwear I had that lasted me forever. Basically, all of my socks I had been wearing for a good bit, and a lot of those I took the opportunity to throw away before leaving. So I mean, I took them to a dumpster and everything, and basically just brought like 3 pairs of gym shorts, 4 or 5 t-shirts, some socks, some underwear, 1 pair of Bermuda shorts, which I've since bought another, no jeans, couple hoodies,
Damn.
and like one button-up shirt. I have since bought more clothes here though, but yeah, I did have to pack light there, but I got a lot of enjoyment out of the opportunity that I got to sort of reset myself in that way and give myself kind of a new look, you know, kind of new country, new me, ha 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 type of thing. Oh, and shoes too. I basically only brought 1 pair of shoes that I used to wear before, aside from my running shoes. And I also packed, you know, like this microphone, tripod, laptop, boxing gloves, drone, bunch of other stuff that took up a bunch of space. But I am expanding my load a little bit. And now I'm at a point to where whenever I move to different apartments, I'm in my second, soon to be in my third. I just have to make either 2 trips in the Airbnb or just kind of, you know, squeeze it in the trunk.
Nice, nice. Yeah, well, I guess what do your parents think about you just getting a one-way ticket to
It's a good
South
question.
America?
That's a good question. And yeah, recently, actually, I told my dad about this podcast and he's watched a couple episodes. So if you're watching, thank you. Um,
Haven't seen
so
him in a while, actually. We should, whenever you're
yeah,
back up here, yeah.
yeah. Um, so they, I mean, yeah, they're great about it. My parents are very supportive, very thankful of that. My mom was kind of like, "Oh, what the heck?" So she was just kind of surprised, like, "What the heck? You're going to Argentina?" And then my dad, kind of same way, like, "What the heck? You know, you're going to Argentina?" But I mean, they both trust my judgment, and you know, they trust that you know I'll be fine down here, and and you know, both of them, you know, my dad, he's a little bit more conscious of it, kind of get a lot of the reasons why life in America has changed a lot and why for people of our generation, right, people who are younger, you know, it's not the same country that it was, you know, in the 80s, in the 90s, right, for example. Economically, socially, culturally, you know, politically, it has changed a lot. So yeah, there was a you know kind of a level of understanding they had there. But yeah, I wouldn't say they were like you know freaking out like, oh, what the heck are you doing, anything like that. No, they've been very supportive, and like I said, I've kind of been bouncing around a lot over the past couple of years. So it's just like now instead of bouncing to some random state, I'm bouncing to the other hemisphere. So you know, same difference, I guess.
Yeah, did your dad give you like any last piece of advice before
Oh
you
yeah,
dipped out for a minute? What did he say?
oh yeah. I mean, yeah, he is a very strategic, very cautious, very risk conscious person. So he used to tell me, hey, if you need, if anything happens, let me know. He always reiterates that. I'm very thankful for that. If anything happens, he's going to be there to help me to the extent that he can. Be careful with your wallet. Be careful with your passport. Do not lose your passport, right? Be careful who you trust. Be careful who you talk to. All the standard stuff. And aside from that, yeah, I mean, we had been talking about it for a while. Just go out, enjoy it, make the most of it, learn lessons. Be very conscious of how things are going. Don't be afraid to come back if you need to. Obviously, right now, I'm not on the trajectory to come back, but yeah, that was kind of how the conversation went. And for any of you guys who are watching who think that maybe your family might be a bit of an anchor or a bit of a discouraging factor when it comes to making these sort of big life moves, what I would encourage you to do from my personal experience, obviously, like I said, I haven't had much of that with my family. They've been awesome. But from what I've seen with other people and just the vibe I've gotten after having done these travels, push the limit as far as you can. Buy the flight. Ask for forgiveness, not permission. And I know this might sound reckless, but if you really know that you could live a better life somewhere else, or if you want to, say go to college somewhere, or if you want to take some sort of risk, and maybe your parents have always been like really helicopter parents and really overprotective, and you think that they'll banish you from the family dinners, they'll love you. Your parents will love you. You love them. As long as there's that mutual sense of comfort and trust in one another, you're going to be fine. And if that means, upsetting a couple people in the short term, you have to understand that these are long-term plays, right? If your mom, for example, is pissy at you for 90 days, but you live a better life for a decade, what's worth the trade, right? Staying in your comfort zone for the rest of your life because you don't want to go through those 90 days, or saying, all right, mom, hey, sorry, I got to go. Oh, no, you can't go. Oh, they're going to rob you. No, I'll be fine. And then, on the other side, everything will be okay. So maybe I'm being a bit too optimistic there, and I'm just don't listen to reckless Esteban, but that's the way that I've captured it, especially now that I've started to meet a lot of people who are in similar positions to me, who are bouncing out of the country at a young age.
Mm-hmm. I would just say don't take this advice too loosely. Like if you have a good job that you've worked 4 years of college for, and you're just starting to build up your bank account and start your
Well,
career.
yeah, obviously you got to have the finances figured out. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, you can't. If you leave, you're pretty much going to get fired. But you think you might be able to find something down there in a different country, and it might be cheaper. Blah blah blah. Like really put a lot of thought into these big life altering, in some cases, decisions. Obviously, like what Esteban's doing is he tried out a lot of different places, and he's still trying out Argentina, and he has plans and backup plans going into this and can always come back and stuff like that. But if you're going to leave, if you just started your job 4, 5, 6 months ago,
yeah.
you're going to get fired, and then you're going to have that on your record that you've only held a job for a few months and then just dipped. It's not going to be a good look for if things don't end up working out, that you have to come back, and then you're just going to be a barista at Starbucks. So yeah, take a lot of thought into these decisions. Well, it could happen. Could happen. But yeah. One more thing about the ambiance of Argentina. Like you said, less littering. It looks cleaner. In the city, are you in a big part of the city?
Yeah.
Are you like on the outskirts?
No. I'm about a 10-minute Uber from the obelisk, or like.
So you're like in Buckhead compared to Atlanta.
Yes.
Okay, so what do the streets look like in terms of people and like homeless people or anything like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So obviously the streets here are a little bit tighter than they are in a place like Atlanta. It really does feel like Europe in that sense. You see this big building here. Once you go down, basically this city is, I know I'm kind of getting off topic, but this city is an infinite map of mid-rise buildings, of like 5 to 25-story buildings for miles and miles and miles and miles. So on the streets, you're kind of in between them all, and of course there's parks and nature and stuff in between, which, oh my god, beautiful. But homeless people, yes, there are some. Not as bad as Atlanta. Definitely not as bad as a city like New York. I would say comparable to what I saw in cities in Iowa. Honestly, you'll see, you'll go out in a night and maybe see one or two kind of laying down in some like entryway type of cover corner type of thing. Not that much litter on the ground except for cigarette butts. There's just a big cigarette smoking culture here, just like Europe. So people just kind of finish it and just toss it.
Mm-hmm.
And aside from that, yeah, I mean that's really it. Things are a little bit tighter, right? So you're gonna have your dumpsters like right there next to the sidewalks because that's where people need to dump their trash. Is kind of like New York in that sense. A lot of commotion in terms of cars. It's not like your typical like documentary of dudes in India where they're spamming the horn,
The
at
slums.
100 beats per minute or anything like that. But yeah, the cars. There's a lot of cars driving around. They drive around kind of fast. A lot of people walking around. But yeah, I would say in terms of stinkiness and trash and homeless people and things like that, it is, if you were to average out all the cities of this magnitude and of this size and of this density, it would definitely be on the lower end of the world if I had to guess.
So you would compare it to like some of the Midwest cities, but more condensed.
Yes, a lot less. Though those are a lot less dense, but yet the similar in terms of stuff like that.
Interesting. All right. Well, what's next? You wake up, you go on a walk, you eat your steak and eggs. Con
Mm-hmm.
gas, get ready for the day.
Mm-hmm.
You've been. Well, how long have you been in Argentina? It's a good question.
I have been here for just about a week and a half. I want to get
Okay.
what's an exact? Yeah, about 11-ish days. Sorry, messing up my thing here. So, yeah, good question. I guess I'll segue into sort of my next main point here. So, now keep in mind, right now I'm currently not working. Just essentially I'm on vacation time, but I will most likely be getting back into work here, and we'll probably do a whole episode in terms of that transition, and like the work-life balance once I start working again virtually here. But what I've been doing a lot of in terms of keeping me busy and making the most out of my time here is I'll have my con gas, I'll have my steak, I'll walk around. Usually during the day, I will do some sort of adventure. So kind of explore some part of the city, walk around mindlessly. Sometimes for too long. Go, if I need to like buy some clothes or something like that, I'll go do that. And yeah, just do a lot of exploration and a lot of adventuring in that way, just to kind of get to know the city better. And yeah, that part's been really good. The parks here are super, super awesome. They're on the topic of that question you asked me earlier, public parks, night and day difference. What do public parks look like in downtown Atlanta? Not great. Not great nowadays. And a lot of major cities, the public parks, what happens is not enough people are active enough to create enough incentive to keep the parks clean. Parks are either full of trash, homeless people straight up live there, they set up shop there, they have like a whole home base and these gazebos and stuff. And like for reference, I just went to Savannah recently, just before coming down here, and Savannah is full of parks. It's known for them, and it's like every little park had a tenant, of $0 out of pocket tenant who is posted up there. Whereas the parks here, beautiful. The first one I saw, I had like this cultural shock moment of awe, and I got a video of it, and sent it to a couple of my friends. It was just it was the way parks were meant to be used. People were sitting on the benches, old people with walking with their sons. The kids, there was a little playground area, a bunch of kids playing. There was like a nice background noise of just the sound of kids screaming and having a good time. You see like the grassy area, and there's people set up with like a little beach towel getting sun. There's the little tables that have a chessboard printed onto them, and people were playing chess. It was like a movie. And one of my friends that I sent this video to said, we only see that in movies in America. And sure, I bet there's exceptions. I'm sure there's some parks in America that are great, but in so many major cities, these parks aren't flourishing and vibrant and homey like that. That sense of community has been deteriorated or was never there to begin with, because the way the city is physically designed doesn't lend to anybody giving a crap about the park. So here it's like, man, just people smiling, people having a good time, safe, awesome. Anyways, so I'll go to these parks, and sort of walk around, and then at night, basically, pretty much without fail, every single night I've been here, I've been to some sort of social event. or have hung out with some sort of, recently met group of friends. So this city, when it comes to social life, I think is unbelievable in terms of just the opportunities that it offers. So I'll go to language exchanges, which are basically just a big group of people getting around trying to practice their English or Spanish, depending on what they need. I've been to a couple different kinds of those. I've been to mate tasting events. I've danced tango now. I've been to a
What's
theater where I
mate?
saw this beautiful like ballet dance show, super, super classy. I found a running group. By the way, if any of you guys are in Buenos Aires, it's called Midnight Runners. We meet every Tuesday night. That's been awesome. For reference, I got here on very early on a Tuesday morning, and that night I had already found them on Instagram. That night, I'm already running with this group of 200 people, meeting some awesome friends. So basically, the amount of people I've been able to meet and socialize with and just get along with and leave good impressions on and them leave good impressions on me has been ridiculous. And that honestly has been probably the strongest factor in terms of why I've liked this city so much, is because that sense of isolation and that sense of loneliness that you can sometimes feel in America, here you can forget about it. Now, it's a double-edged sword, right? Sometimes it's too much. And it's, especially once I start working, I'm going to need to balance things, right? Because, some of these people want to go out and party till 6 a.m., get messed up. And, I'm not the biggest fan of going, going animal hard like that. But just to give you guys a reference. So I landed here basically knowing no one, basically came by myself. And within these past about 11 days, I've probably had 300 or 400 conversations with a different person every time in terms of just meeting people. And then in terms of connections, and I guess we could consider a connection like a WhatsApp or an Instagram or some sort of exchange of contact information, probably over 150 total. So if this is just math I'm throwing out there. So to give you guys like an idea as to what a different environment can do in terms of amplifying your social life, there you go. Right? Now, I am a very social person. I socialize with people very well. I just came from a whole summer of working in door-to-door sales, so my people skills, my communication skills are extremely sharp right now. But that's not to say that I don't see other people who are a little bit more shy, a little bit more timid, a little bit more reserved, just completely burst out of their shell. I've seen it here. These guys that have come, maybe they're on some sort of vacation, on a gap year, something like that. They're younger, just a little bit, they feel a little bit out of place. Maybe they don't speak Spanish. They still find their crowd. They still find their tribe here. And that's right. That's been a huge energy booster as well. Because now I know that not only am I seeing this beautiful country and seeing this beautiful architecture and eating this amazing steak every day, I'm also sharing it with others. And that's life, right? What do we live for? We live for, survival. We want to eat. We want to, love, reproduce, right? Our genetic legacy. And we live to socialize, right? We're social creatures. So when you think of, when you're designing your ideal life in your own head and you're telling yourself, okay, what do I want in order to get the best out of, my next decade, my next few years, my next 6 months even, take your ability to find and meet people very, very seriously, because it's what keeps us sane. And I think that's part of the reason why these people here are so sane. And I'll use that adjective specifically because in a lot of places in America, a lot of Western countries, it's like some people have just lost touch with reality because they're so damn lonely. They have no one to bounce their thoughts off of. They have no one to keep them in check, and they have no one to just have a laugh with. That stuff keeps you sane. That stuff keeps you level-headed. That stuff keeps you feeling good. So if I know I'm in a city where on any night of the week, I can go have some people to have a good time with, and a bunch of different types of people in a bunch of different environments and a bunch of different times of the day, then that's going to create just like a day-to-day experience that is a lot more enjoyable, and it's going to make me feel better to wake up every day, right? So I know that was a big sort of tangent on the value of socializing and social life in general, but yeah, this city has been unbelievable. This city has been unbelievable. I know some of you will ask as well, how are the girls? Girls have been great. Very nice, very sweet, very diverse bunch, and this applies to guys and girls. But a lot of Colombians, Brazilians, Peruvians, Chileans, Americans, Europeans, right? So whatever your type is, you're gonna be able to pick it down here. That's kind of what one of the perks of living in a city that's so big. But yeah, that was my next big point. I'll kind of pause here in terms of just socializing and the social dynamics that are here. It's been awesome.
When you said people in like America, other countries versus Argentina are so lonely and depressed, it made me think: to what extent is it due to social media and TikTok and porn and technology? So, what is the culture like there in terms of that kind of technological use? Are people always on their phone scrolling through TikTok? Like if they're at a coffee shop, are people just by themselves, just on their phone? Or are people like at dinner, or are they with their phone in their pocket at dinner and actually just trying to talk to everyone and not even checking their phone ever?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very good question, and I got that same question from someone else not too long ago, and we went into a whole conversation about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of creates like the whole chicken or the egg type of paradox, like which came first, the technology or the culture that encourages people to use the technology. Here, what I notice is people are just inherently more social and inherently more comfortable with putting away their damn phone in general, right?
And
You
talking
notice
to
a lot of people
people.
in America, it's kind of like either they're on their phone or their phone's always in their hand, or whenever they get up to use the bathroom or they get up to grab a dang napkin, they have to take their phone with them. There's less of that attachment, that super glue to your phone here. And I think a lot of it does have to do with the culture, right? Just the way people were raised, the lives people lived as children, and how that sort of translates into their comfort with socializing with others. And then a lot of it lends to the way this place is physically designed. And I think that if you really wanted to, you could gather a lot of data from a lot of other cities in the world that are designed in a way that actually is pedestrian and people friendly, and compare that to the American urban sprawl nightmare that they have. And what you're going to gather is that when you're physically distant from a lot of people, and in order to put yourselves in environments where you can socialize and actually have things to keep you occupied, you are much more prone to just kind of sit in your apartment and be on your phone, right? So then it's like if you're spending 6 hours a day screen time on TikTok in your apartment, then who's to say that you're not going to whip it out real quick when you're in the line at the coffee shop?
Yeah,
And
bad
so is
habits
everyone
take
else in the
over.
line. And so and you're going to do the same thing in the elevator on the way up to the apartment, right? And then even at a dang stoplight in your car, you might pull out TikTok. It's crazy. It's crazy what you'll see in America. But it's like if when your day-to-day existence is so much more isolated and you have so much more time to build that phone addiction, then you're going to use it in all sorts of different environments. So I would say, to answer your question here, because of the culture, and also the just the people's physical ability to be around other humans, from at least from what I'm noticing so far, phone usage is a lot lower, and especially in young children.
Mm.
Don't get me started on the iPad kids of America's
No.
next generation.
Yeah.
And oh my God, I want
We're,
to
we don't have to go there.
I want to put the parents who just throw phones at their kids at 4 years old in jail. Obviously, I can't do that. I don't have that kind of power. Let me not get too ahead of myself. But it's like, come on, raise your kid. You don't need to use the phone as a distraction tool for the first 12 years of his life. You're going to fry his brain. And here, I think, at least for now, because I do see a lot of little kids on a day-to-day basis, I see less of that. They're more just being kids. They're running around, just swinging their arms around and screaming like kids should, instead of being glued, literally deforming the back of their neck.
Mm.
for years and years and years, like you see so many kids nowadays in America. And then time will tell how the young little kid phone culture is going to evolve as these kids become adults, right? Once these kids who are 10 years old now and who have had short form social media swiping app content for literally their entire cognitive life become adults, who knows how these people are going to be able to function, right?
No, they're
So
fried.
I
They're
think
cooked.
what we're gonna see is by the time that we're having kids, there's going to be a stark divide between countries like America, where half the parents don't know what they're doing and throw iPads at their kids, and countries like this, and I'm sure there's other examples in the world where kids are actually just kind of going out and playing and doing normal things. Those adults are going to be very different from one another.
I will
So,
say, I think
go
there
ahead.
has been a shift in the pendulum between our generations and those immediately before us, looking at like the millennials and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
where a lot of the Gen Zers, I think we are, what is that, like 95 or 92 to like '05 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, yeah, this iPad kid's all bullshit. Get off
Yeah.
TikTok, get off social media, mainstream media. We can't trust. We can't trust the government. I think people are starting to get their eyes open in
Mm-hmm.
America from what I've been seeing in our generation. So hopefully that switches. But yes, those kids that my girlfriend are teaching now, which are in sixth grade,
Oh yeah.
literally have their own brain rot, as they coin it themselves, language where nothing makes sense and it's all from the short term content and their brains are fried. They can't study, they can't sit down still for a minute, they can't listen to a lecture, they can't read, they can't write because they don't have to do that. They can't write with their hands, they can't write in cursive because they use computers now in every single
Forget it.
elementary and middle school in the entire world, or entire country at least. They don't even use pen and paper anymore because it's bad for the environment. You can grow trees. Anyways, I digress. But yeah, that's a good point. So short answer, a lot less phone usage in the culture.
Yes. Yes, for now. Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot your girlfriend's a teacher and she's seeing that
Oh yeah,
day to
it's
day.
bad.
She's seeing the impact in the field. But yeah, less phone usage and overall that's just whether it's a symptom or whether it's a cause, the society at large is just a lot more social. A lot
Okay, what
more
about, you were talking
good.
about kids that can't speak Spanish? How do they get assimilated? How do they figure out, like, what about that language barrier? Do most people
Mhm.
just speak English there so they can figure it out, or
Yeah, I mean, when you're especially in Buenos Aires or in any large urban area in Latin America, like if you go out to some random middle of nowhere town, okay, it's going to be harder. But here, pretty much everyone speaks some sort of level of English. You know, it's not like it's very rare for you to run into someone here who literally looks at you with a blank stare if you were to speak to them in English. It's very, very rare. Sometimes some older people might be more in that boat. But if you come here and you speak zero Spanish, you're going to be fine. You're going to be able to order food. You're going to be able to talk to your Uber driver. You're going to be able to go to the grocery store, get a gym membership, rent on Airbnb. You're going to be fine. Where it comes into play is, you know, sometimes you'll get the occasional person where you kind of need to pull out Google Translate if it's something very, very specific. And then of course when it comes to making friendships and building relationships that are deep, there can be some limits there. But as long as you're actively trying to learn Spanish and people can see that, people are going to take you a lot more seriously, and then they're going to like you and respect you for it. So yeah, the English proficiency here is very, very high, probably higher than some other parts of Latin America. I'm sure if you were to go to maybe an equivalently sized city in somewhere like, you know, Peru or you know, somewhere in like northern Brazil, for example, it might be a little bit tougher. But I would encourage anyone, even if you're white like sliced bread and you don't speak any Spanish, to come down here and you will be fine. And if you go to, you know, the types of events that I've been going to, or you know, you just kind of socialize, you get out there, even if it's just like going to a bar, walking around town, you're going to meet a ton of Americans. Actually, frankly, not that many Americans necessarily, but a lot of Americans, a lot of British people. I've met Irish people. I've met Canadians. I've met Australians. I've met New Zealanders. I've met Europeans who speak very, very, very good English, Germans, French people, Spanish, Portuguese, and yeah, you're gonna find your gang either way.
All right, so let's keep going. So what else has been going on? So
That
gym membership. What other points?
Okay, yeah. So I'll go more into sort of day-to-day activities. So I do have a gym membership right now. Gyms here are interesting. They're not the most luxurious, I will say. Maybe I haven't dug hard enough and I haven't found that lifetime Equinox equivalent yet, but frankly, I don't think it quite exists. But yeah, gyms here have what I need. I've gone to two so far, and yeah, they have locker room, showers, no sauna, steam room, unfortunately. All the weights I need, everything's in kilos. You bet the kilos are heavier, even if they're not. And yeah, they have the equipment. A lot more gyms here are open air, so they'll just kind of have the windows open or the doors open throughout the day. So it's not you're not just in like an air conditioned box. And I mean, same veil as to what we were just talking about, but the gym culture here is dope. People here are a lot more social in the gym. People are a lot more willing to ask you to like work in with you if if the gym is packed, or offer it to you if you walk up to a machine and someone's on it. Chances are they're like, oh yeah, work in, like no worries. Whereas in America, people are a little bit more earbuds in, closed off. And the gym employees here have been awesome. At the gym I go to, basically every time I walk in, I get either a fist bump or dap of some sort. And yeah, it's great. It has what you need. But yeah, don't expect steam room
Right.
and shea
Yeah.
butter infused shampoo.
Yeah.
But you've got, especially when you combine the protein intake and the walking, you're gonna get in better shape here.
All right. Well, what other main points did you want to hit on? And then I have a
Let,
couple more like
let
deeper
me see.
questions.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I'm glad I just remembered this. So this is going to kind of be a microcosm of a lot of what we've already talked about. But I just came from, just before recording this episode, a crypto mastermind slash networking event. Now I'm going to tell you a story as to how I came across it, and this is just so indicative as to the way that things just kind of move here and things just kind of happen. So I'm at the grocery store because earlier today I was cooking my steak, my steak lunch, and I didn't have enough awak on gas to chug on.
Ridiculous.
So I went to go get some awak on gas. I also got a little bit of bread and a little bit of butter. And I'm just in the checkout line, and this grocery store is quite literally directly next to my building. So I go down the elevator, I walk out, and it is the very next property. And it's this Vietnamese couple who came from Vietnam, I think, a year or two ago. Speak kind of broken Spanish, but they're very awesome. At this point, they kind of recognize me when I walk in. And as I'm checking out, another guy comes in behind me and says, "Hey, what can we do?" Because they sell wine there. He's like, "What can we do for me to get 25 bottles of wine?" And I look at him, and he of course, is all in Spanish, and I say, "Diablo," which means like, "Dang, 25?" He's like, "Yeah, man. We're throwing this event, and just we need a lot of wine. You know how it is." I was like, "Oh, okay. Like, what kind of event?" He's like, "Oh, well, yeah. I'm not sure if you're like into crypto investing at all." And I was like, "Yeah, well, I'm not super into it or super savvy, but I am looking to learn more into it as I, want to find better places to park my money and kind of want to find a little bit more about the community. I've heard that there's a very good community." He's like, "Yeah, well, we're actually having an event in 3 hours. That was at about 2. The event started at 5. And yeah, I'll text you over a ticket if you want to come." I'm just like, I thought to myself, okay, do I have anything going on at 5? No, I do need to make sure that I'm out in time to record this podcast. Yeah, man, send me a ticket. Boom. From 2 p.m. Boom. Now, and then I went to go hang out with a friend has now flown out. In the meantime, after eating my steak, and then boom, at like 5:30, I'm in a room with 60 guys, and we're talking about crypto and just kind of chopping it up. And I'm meeting people, got a couple Instagrams, joined their Telegram group. The guy stood up and did like a quick, like presentation on sort of it was Solana theme for you guys that are familiar. It was all about
Yeah, I
Solana
know
and sort of like the
Solana.
benefits of using the Solana blockchain. He told us about that, and it's just like boom, just like that. I went to an event, met some people, and now if I want to go to their events in the future, I can, off of some random interaction at a grocery store. How often does that happen in America? When's the last time that happened to you, Mr. American, watching this? Right? Now, of course, I'm not going to say it's going to happen to you every day. I'm not going to say that, yes, it was kind of a crazy coincidence, but I thought to myself after leaving that grocery store, like, dang, like this and stuff like that has been happening this whole time. But it's like, dang, like that is awesome. That is awesome. Out of nowhere, this guy just came out of the sky buying 25 bottles of wine. And I when I went, had a couple sips. The wine here is also very good, world famous. And yeah, it was great. Just great opportunity, a great way to spend my Sunday evening. And I had another like cultural shock appreciation moment. So I definitely wanted to tell that story here.
Yeah. Good story. Solano. I did have some of that a while back, but I sold it. So, um, yeah,
Same.
all the altcoins started not doing well for a while
Same.
comparatively.
Well, according to these guys, Solana ain't no altcoin no more. Solana's mainstream.
Yeah, I guess I could
But
look up the market cap. I don't know,
I've
but yeah,
got to do some more education on it. And then also another guy's different thing. Another guy that I met at one of these language exchanges is a crypto influencer, and he gave me tickets to a 2-day conference. I think it's not this weekend, but the next weekend, and it's like Latin America Blockchain Conference 2024, like big, like venue. I'm gonna have a name tag, and I'm gonna be there's a bunch of companies and stuff set up. And he just gave me the tickets. I think normally they're like $30 something, so it's not like it was a crazy gift or anything. But just like, yeah, I chopped it up with this guy. I noticed that he was making content on his Instagram. When he gave it to me, I was like, dude, like this content's dope. Like, give me some tips, give me some pointers. And he's like, yeah, man, if you want to learn about crypto, boom, we've got an expo in 2 weeks for 2 days. You should come. So that was great. And yeah, there's a lot of professional networking opportunities out here, especially as it relates to stuff like that, right? Blockchain, crypto, Wi-Fi money, as I like to call it, right? Online entrepreneurs. Met a lot of marketing agency guys. For those of you who are very much into, the sort of, alternative education, online business type of space, it's a great place to come meet people.
yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, usually those expos like here are at least $300 to $500 for a 2-day expo. $30 is insane.
Yeah.
That's good. Been learning, meeting new people. I think it is important to point out again the reason why Esteban is having these opportunities in front of him is because he's actually willing to reach out a helping hand or just say hi and meet new people and just say something. So even in America, if you see someone in the elevator or someone normal looking or about your age or whatever in the line at the grocery, at the gym, all that good stuff, just be willing to actually just say, hey, how you doing? And people tend to appreciate that a lot and then give you tickets to things just because fuck it.
Yep. Yeah, I will reiterate it just like you just did. Even if you're not in a very social place like I am here, even if you are in some random ghost town suburb in America, don't feel discouraged. Try to get out if that's what you want to do. But yeah, same thing. The opportunities that you can take to put yourself out there and say hello to the stranger, take it. He's not going to freak out at you. He's not gonna pull out a firearm in self defense. America ain't that bad, right? You're gonna be fine. And it was my ability to do that combined with just the risks I took and the job I worked and just going to college and rushing a fraternity and just and going to the random little club events at the college, and kind of like Danny said, buying some really, really expensive, arguably insanely overpriced tickets to events that have primed me to be able to come down here and, like I said, get over 150 contacts in under 2 weeks. So while you're young, wherever you are, start working on these skills, right? Get out there, say hi to the guy, to the girl, make the approach. Don't worry, she's not going to bite you. And yeah,
Right.
doors will start to open up. And like I said before, what is life? What is the meaning of life? We don't know. We probably won't try to answer that on this episode. But getting along with people and having fun stuff, enjoyable, productive stuff to do with other people, I'd say is a solid component of it. So take it seriously.
Mm-hmm. It's a good segue into my last bit I wanted to ask you about.
Sure.
And yeah, you're right. Life is about sharing your experiences with other people, the people you love and the people you care about. And to segue, so Esteban, I mean, you've been bouncing around for a while, and obviously without like any family, been meeting friends here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Obviously, it'd be hard to have like a long term significant other relationship with the kind of schedule you got going on. So, do
Mm-hmm.
you kind of feel like you're missing out on sharing these experiences and growing with like your family or a individual throughout all this, or do you kind of just right now enjoy doing it on your own,
So I would
so to
say
speak?
that's a good question. I would kind of split that up. I would answer those questions differently for my family, meaning like my nuclear family, and a potential girlfriend slash wife. Um, because with my nuclear family, I always want to make sure that I stay in touch with them and I go back and see them regularly. So yes, sometimes I feel like being so far and being in these other places is kind of like, dang, it's being able to go and just hang out with my mom, hang out with our dog, or hang out with my dad, um would be nice right now, right? But I like to make sure to always carve out time, make sure I'm seeing them. My sister, same thing, stay in touch with her. uh and I think while I'm young, there's always going to be a sort of risk reward that I'm going to have to consider. And like I said before, thankfully my family's been very, very supportive. So they've told me, hey, this now is your time to do this. Go spread your wings, right? Now, when it comes to a long-term relationship, yes, it has been difficult for me to even consider that over this last little bit because of how much I've moved around when it comes to my location. And frankly, I'm basically, I'm not a fan of long distance relationships. I think a lot of people aren't, just because there's just, you need to have, that sense of closeness and, the ability to, give each other a damn kiss every once in a while. Right. So I think in some ways I have kind of been like, okay, it would be nice to kind of settle down and have more of that intimate, day to day sort of interaction. But when you ask like kind of experiencing it with someone else, I think I'll be doing more of that later in life. Is kind of my overall answer. Is now while I'm young, I'm not really that worried about it. And I know that some people would argue that that's kind of like a degenerate mindset. It's like, oh, you should still appreciate, relationships and try to get married when you're young and have kids when you're young. I think that there is a sort of a fine balance to it. But what I do know is that having gathered all the experiences that I've gathered, I'm going to be in a very good position to provide a lot of value and a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge and wisdom and leadership to my family once I do have my own family. And as I gather more resources, the relative cost of flying starts to go down, right? If I, eventually, hopefully, we'll see, can start flying private later on in life, boom, now distances start to kind of get shorter, right? So I think part of what I'm working on now is just I don't want to say figuring myself out because it's such an overplayed cliche term. And most people who say that they're figuring themselves out need to just
Aren't doing shit.
figure out some other stuff first. But yeah, figuring out what I value in the world and what I want out of life is very, something I need to focus on now. Once I've kind of got that dialed in, and professionally I'm doing better, financially I'm doing better, and I can kind of sit back and chill a little bit more. Then I think that I'm going to be in an even better position to have a fruitful relationship when that day does come. However, I am in pursuit now, and like I said at the beginning of the video, I've probably found a home base, a long-term home base for at least a good while. So, not sleeping in the same bed for 90 days or more for another 2 years. Nah, I don't think I want that necessarily. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what life brings me, but I do want a little bit more of a sense of relaxedness, but relaxedness in a place that I love, and that's part of the pursuit that I've been on, right? Whether it's been gathering the money, gathering the connections, gathering the skill set, or trying out places to find out what I actually like. It's all kind of culminated into a point now to where I found a place like this that's like, shoot, I like it here, right? So yeah, maybe it won't be that long before I'm able to have all the boxes checked and just kind of chill. I hope that answered your question. I know I tried to kind of dissect it into 3 or 4 different pieces,
Yeah.
but yeah, basically, I'm young, want to make sure that I'm building everything up, and by the time I do have my own family, I'm very confident that I'm going to be in a very good position to be an amazing husband and amazing father.
Yeah. 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 Kind of working your way to be not to be a millionaire, but become the
Right.
person who can generate $1 million.
Sure.
Um,
And a lot of it isn't just money, right? Yes,
but yeah, 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 yeah.
I want to be able to take my family to dinner and say, order whatever the hell you want, and don't worry about it. I got you. But I'm not going to spoil them. I'm not going to spoil them too hard. They still got to work for stuff and earn their way around the world. But yeah, it's the experience, it's the wisdom, it's the know-how, it's the energy.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I kind of meant to extrapolate that quote towards like other areas in life, like not just have a family, but become the person who can have a great family and a great
Mm-hmm.
life. And so, yeah, that takes time and exploration and understanding yourself and growth and development. I guess we can end on this last question that I have for you. You can go ahead first, and then I'll kind of
Sure.
put a point in there as well. So, what is the biggest thing that you think you've learned throughout this next chapter of your life, moving to an entire continent and the other side of the globe? What's
Mm-hmm.
kind of the big lesson you've gathered so far?
Hmm. The first one that came to my mind, and I could probably sit here and really think and
Yeah.
maybe get a better one, but I'm going to throw this one out there, and it goes back to what I said before. People open doors. People open doors. So meet people, and yes, of course, it's not like I didn't know this before. We've talked about this on several episodes now, but it's like now, like the amount of people and the amount of doors that I've been able to open up so fast here, um, has really sort of internalized to me that like a lot of what I need to be focusing on day to day is becoming the type of person who can get along with others and who others can respect and others can love and who can love others and who can respect others. But B, allotting myself the freedom to actually go enjoy good times with people. And if we can combine those two, right, being a
Mhm.
likable person and having the time to actually go socialize and meet people and have a good time, then doors start to open wide. Whether it
Mhm.
is professionally, right, crypto, sales, marketing, investing, whatever it is, or if it's you get an invite to that, you get an invite to this. Oh, hey, you should meet this other friend. I think he's cool. Oh, hey, this girl, she's single, she's really cute. I think you guys would be a really good match. People open doors, right? So a lot of what I want to focus on now is designing my life in such a way to where I can do exactly that, become that likable person, just keep, just do the best to put as much positive energy out into the world as possible, but then also make sure that I can set myself up in such a way to where I have time to actually use it, which is a big part of the American rat race that a lot of people get caught into, is they don't have time to actually get out there and mess around with the world and mess around with others. So yeah, people open doors. That would be my answer.
Yeah, that's a good point that resonated with me there, that I think I've fallen victim to, and maybe you have as well. It's like people like us tend to be so caught up in the future and what is to come and trying
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that everything's lined up perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And what ends up happening is our, you can call it anxiety or our care for the future, gets in the way of actually living and breathing in the moment and in the present and just taking it all in and being fully there at moments when, especially when you're with people you care about, when you're doing fun things. Sometimes you're going at 1,000 miles a minute and you're not actually just taking in, and being grateful for where you actually are in the present and the people that are around you and the
Mhm.
things that you're doing and how lucky you are to be in a free market capitalistic society that lets you travel the world and work remote and do fun things and meet new people. And sometimes we get caught up in all, oh, I got to make sure that 10 years from now everything lines up perfectly, where sometimes you just got to be along for the ride because time
Right,
flies, man.
right.
Goes
And
by quick.
that's a good point. A lot of times, and so something I've I've came to kind of realize is that in a lot of ways, by strategically, not recklessly, but strategically, kind of throwing your feet back and just kind of going with the flow a little bit more, you'll have more experiences in your life, and you'll be introduced to more things and people in your life that will actually give you a better life in 10 years, which might sound contradictory to the mindset of just like, no, lock in 100%. Like, yes, stay locked in, stay focused, don't be reckless. But if, you get invited to something or whatever, you just want to go out on the town or whatever it is, you want to just kind of hang out with an old group of friends, reconnect with someone you haven't talked to in a while, that can compound in such a way to where the life on the other side of those 10 years is a whole lot better than the one that was waiting for you at the end of that very narrow path that you took so strategically and that you never diverted from, and that you sacrificed so much enjoyment for. Yes, you'll probably get to your desired outcome, but what if the outcome that you didn't even know you desired could be even better if you're a little bit more flexible? Take that into consideration.
Mm-hmm. And I guess to answer my question that I posed a few minutes ago, what's the biggest thing I've learned in this chapter?
Mm-hmm.
Biggest lesson. And as I talked about earlier, a lot, it's about that whole idea of like, you're always learning, you're always trying to grow, you always need to try to develop so you don't stay in the same place. And whether it's in college, high school, or starting a new career or a new job, you gotta lock in and actually learn the skills and have the knowledge to be successful at it. But I'll add another one since I already did that. Well, I add two. Number one, it's like once you move out away from your parents and you got bills to pay, you got a car, you got car insurance, you got a job, you got a girlfriend that you got to take care of, you got hopefully hopefully kids one day. Like you got these real responsibilities, and it's like welcome to the real world, like this ain't no joke. Even if you don't like your job right now, well, you got 12 months of rent you got to pay. It doesn't really matter like if you like it or not. You just got to fucking do what you got to do.
Yep.
And then Esteban and other people probably say you're kind of stuck in the rat race to some extent, which is true, but it's like it's also like you need to sacrifice the present to be able to become who you want to be and be able to do what you want to do in the future. And if you're if you just give up or if you just completely change routes and not really think about it completely, you can do a lot more harm than good for yourself
Right.
now and in the future. And you got to realize that you got responsibilities. You got to do what you got to do. You got to take care of the people that you want to take care of. And if you don't like going to work, well, too bad. Like I don't know what to tell you. What are you going to do? Quit?
Right.
What are you going to do? Not have a job? How's that going to end up for you? And then my last point is that I've learned a lot with the CPA studying, especially because I've dedicated so much time to that, especially while working as well. You need to be very cognizant and aware of the things that you are doing that are wasting your time. If you could literally just cut out the things that you know for a fact are wasting your time, scrolling on TikTok, looking at
Mm-hmm.
dumb YouTube videos, maybe even sports to some extent, sports gambling, definitely.
Stop
Like,
watching sports.
these things
Try
are
that for
wasting
1
your
year.
time. These things are wasting your money. It's not good for you. If you could literally just cut out those things that you know for a fact, just laying in bed for too long instead of just getting yourself up and brushing your teeth. You would save so much time, so much money, and you would be able to put that towards so many things that would give you exponential value and growth in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, time is money.
Time is
Now
money.
you can get done with an extra 2 hours.
Yeah, a lot. 4 hours on TikTok screen time. Yeah, it's crazy.
Easy for some of these
Easily,
people.
easily.
Lock in.
Listen to a podcast listen to the Launch Party podcast instead of TikTok. How
Yeah,
about that?
dial in the launch party while you're cooking your nutritious meal,
Yeah,
while
steak and
you're
eggs.
investing, while you're running, do some push-ups in
While
between.
you're running.
But yeah, don't waste time. Do things that are going to move you forward in some sort of way. Be flexible with how you allocate your time within those productive avenues. But if you know it's just BS, time wasting cheese,
Like
and get rid of
you
it.
know.
Yeah, you know. Don't act
Like
like don't
you
act
know
like
you
the
shouldn't be
figuring it
watching
out
porn.
part is
You
hard.
know.
You know.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's it. I don't
Welcome
really
to the
have too
launch
much more to
party.
cover.
Yep, the Launch Party podcast. Well, it's been real. Any last points you want to throw out the 20 people watching?
Um,
0 to this point.
come to Argentina, man. You'll love it. You'll love it.
I do want to get down there. For real.
Yes. Yes. Come to Argentina. Viewers, come to Argentina. Anybody watching, this place is awesome. And yeah, if anybody wants to come on, we still want to get our organic guest on. So please hit us up. If anybody's watching is thinking about traveling to Argentina or traveling to Latin America, let us know. Let us know, and I'll help you out there. And yeah, go eat some steak, go get some sun, go smell the roses, lock in, and yeah, keep launching.
Towards stratospheric success. And we will be back soon with another episode. Maybe political, I'm thinking.
Ooh. Yeah, screw it. Let's do it.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Let us know if you want to be on. And see you later. Stay safe out there.